Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Clinic Gym Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Josh Satterley, and I'm honored today to be with a very special guest, Alex Gruin. Alex, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Did I say the name right, by the way?
You did.
All right.
Nice job.
Fantastic. Thanks. Alex is he's the manager of the gym I go to, but that's really underselling things. So can you give everybody like a 1-minute synopsis of who you are, what you run, and what you do?
Yeah, obviously, name's Alex. I work directly for a big company called Lifetime Club here in Vegas that obviously we're going to. Huge facility, let's talk 200,000 plus square feet. Really, really big thing. I call it a cruise ship on land.
Yeah,
so,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's massive. So, you just have businesses inside of businesses, so it's not really just a gym per se. It's definitely an experience though when you come into it. So
absolutely, yeah. Can you give since they probably haven't been yet to a Lifetime, the businesses that are here on site? For example, you have a cafe. Well, actually, you have two, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, so cafe, we run a full service, essentially a restaurant inside. Everything's super, super healthy. I like to compare it to, Whole Foods does a great job with obviously that whole, organic, great healthy experience. So we try to drive the same thing: no preservatives, no colors, artificial sweeteners of any sort.
But your employees don't have nose rings and dreadlocks, so
that is true.
Yeah.
It's a very professional environment to that point. You walk into the front desk and people are in suits and it's black and white attire. So cafe. We have a full service bistro. So as you've seen before. We really run it like a resort outside.
Yeah.
So
cabana rentals, drinks. I mean, you have a bar out there, right?
Yeah, and that's more for the fun experience of it, right? Yeah. Like we can run events and have a good time. This year we're having a wedding out there, for example.
Awesome.
So cool deal. Massage spa.
Yep. Okay.
Right.
Spa.
So you can do hair, nails, massage, sports massage. We actually run a clinic out of here as well. So we have a chiropractor, a physical therapist. Actually, a doctor doing proactive medicine in a space. Trainers, so we have 50 plus trainers on staff.
Wow.
So big operation there.
You run there's the basketball area upstairs also has a league within that, right? Or like a rec league. Yep.
So that's Ultimate Hoops. That's the biggest. We have the biggest one in the company here. So we have 32 teams, and I think we'll probably be around 36 teams here in the next quarter. So. That's actually a pretty cool operation because we have a lot of former professional basketball players that come and they really come from all over the country to play.
Yeah.
So it's a cool experience. And then the Kids Academy is fantastic. I mean, you want a good space to leave your kid in. Progressive programming, karate.
And just for illustration, how many classes are within the Kids Academy? So I can just drop my kids off. I want people to understand the scale here.
Yeah.
So I can just drop my kids off open play, right? And you guys got a kick-ass indoor playground. You got a study area. You got a place with the swings for the infants, right, to put them to sleep. You got the arts and crafts area. That's just the open play. But then you have the classroom, which is right next to that. And then you have the other activity area where you have to walk the kids down the hall, and there's like a dedicated dance room, right? Dedicated tumbling area with a trampoline and foam pit. What else is in there? Martial arts
room. We got a yoga room for kids. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like a dance room almost. So you could do ballet in there. You could do
and how
yoga.
many classes roughly do you think are offered a week within just the kids?
Right now we're roughly about 145. So it's
that's not include. I just want people to understand that's not the yoga classes in this place. That's not the
just kids classes. It's a Rubik's Cube of just making sure that you can coordinate everything.
And we haven't even touched on tennis or the pool at that point, or the pools. Right?
Pools, yeah. So hot tubs in each locker room. Obviously unisex on the indoor pool deck, unisex on the outside pool deck. Obviously you got the lap lanes, so we have swim team.
Right. Indoor play pool, the open splash. And then there's, of course, the water slides. The man has water slides in his gym.
And the mushrooms. Those are a lot of fun. I don't know if you've been able to play on those, but the kids love them. And then, the classes upstairs. So we have a dedicated yoga studio, cycle studio, and then we have two other studios just specific for, barbell classes or whatever the case is. And two full indoor basketball courts that I mentioned earlier. And you also have a classroom for your trainers, right? Or for all your employees.
the training, whatever that is. That
the education center that we have.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's where we hold all of our meetings, our education meetings. We also do a yoga teacher training, so we hold it out of there. And then we use obviously the yoga studio itself, obviously, as we're doing a kind of a practical aspect. So.
Now, I'm sure there's some people going, why are you having this guy on the podcast? Like, this is not the typical gym owner that we talk to. But one of the things that is great is Alex sees everything at scale. Like you will see the impact of switching from Windex brand to the in-house brand cleaning product, right? Because you buy hundreds of gallons of it a year.
Right.
And you didn't always start out in a mega club like this, right? You started in a smaller club, and you started out actually as a personal trainer at some point, right?
Yeah, but so this is my 13th year,
okay,
kind of in this space. But I started ultimately, as a frontline operations team member. So I got to see the nitty gritty of actually the operations behind the scene, which for some people you'd never think of it, but to be able to operate that behind the scenes, you really kind of get a real understanding of what you do on a day to day. That really kind of, it's the blood of the club. Let's put it that way. Like you can essentially close down every other business, but let people come in to work out. You're not going to be able to run it with trash overfilling in a trash bin, right? Or dirty lockers. It's just that won't happen. So it's a vital role. Yeah, and then I worked in management for personal training for 7 years, and then I've been running the clubs now. This is my 5th year in a big box, but yeah, I started in a smaller club, and then I started adding different pieces to it, and you really kind of see the shift from smaller box to bigger box, and what that really entails on a financial scale and an experience scale, and to that point, little tiny things make a huge difference.
Yeah, in cost. And that's why I want to talk to you, because whereas I might have got one complaint about something in my time, that meant probably there were 10 clients that were frustrated with it. You at least get 100 notes in your inbox about, hey, we got to handle this, because you have so many people coming through. And just for that, I just want to tell people, on an average week, how many swipes will you get through here?
Yeah, I'll base it on a day, but realistically, you're looking 22 to 2,500 people. We'll see on a daily basis. 2,500
people coming through on a day, using the locker rooms, meeting the people at the front desk, maybe going to the cafe, maybe using kids club, using the weights, using the classes and all that. So,
yeah. So when I say that, it doesn't include anybody under the age of 12.
Okay.
So for example, a Saturday, we might see 1,300 people in a matter of 3 hours, but that also doesn't include another 300 to 400 children that come in. So we could be potentially 1,700 people in the club at once. That's a lot, and you have to make sure that you're operating that experience and you don't run out of a supply. Yeah. And your laundry has to be on par. And I mean, it's a fast moving.
I mean, if the bathrooms don't have toilet paper, like
that's a problem.
Yeah. You have a big problem that people will definitely bring up.
Someone's not happy in that stall.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So, well, okay. I got tons of questions here because I think you're just a plethora of information, but, interestingly, and I always love these little signs in it. I knew Alex was a real deal because the first time I met you afterwards, I was up working out on the upstairs, and I looked over, and you had the little mini vacuuming behind the ficus plants or whatever. And here you are, like, and people don't know, like, you guys wear suits to work and stuff. Like, you are high end, and he's vacuuming while there's tons of people in the weight room, while there's tons of trainers working on the floor, while there's everything going on. And you're like, you can't get the frontline operation stuff out of your blood, right?
No, I enjoy it. I think in one selfish aspect, I like the instant gratification of seeing something change. Oh, there's dust and now it's gone. So I feel good about it. Two, I like to lead by example. I'm not going to ask somebody to do something. Yeah. I'm not going to ask somebody to do something that I wouldn't do. Right. And then third, the reality is sometimes it's busy. Yeah. And I'm a person, I'm a business owner. It's my space. I treat it like my house, right? So,
and right at that moment, I mean, you're the manager, but your trainers, everybody was busy on the floor. It's a high traffic, high usage time, and like you said, you're a business owner. You want to have those trainers training. Like they shouldn't be cleaning at that time. Like
no.
When everybody's here, let's have them do what they're experts at, right?
Yeah, I mean, when it's downtime, then they're doing that.
Yeah, and today, but right before this interview, you just got done with kind of a different kind of event. Would you mind sharing what you guys did today with people?
Yeah, so essentially we group in 10, 12 managers. Basically, every business owner, we request that they put together 6 to 8 hours of a Friday, right? Fridays tend to be a little bit slower in the club. We get time to deep clean or whatever the case is. So for us, it's team building and basically taking care of the asset at that point. So today was...
So you used a lot of corporate language there. Hold on. I just want to pull it out so people understand. You said every business owner. What that means, so we're not talking small business owner like a small gym. In your operation, what might be called divisions or something, you guys term business owner, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I term it that way, right?
Okay.
So I have a spa manager. Essentially,
They
it's
own
her
the business of the
right?
spa.
She's responsible for the business of that spa. And we, I oversee it with her and partner with her to obviously develop the plans there.
But you treat it as like an independent, the people you oversee, they can have the ownership of running it and succeeding with it, not all that glory going to you. Like, this is your little silo to them. Hey, run it, succeed with it, and I'll help you out any way I can. It's kind of the way it works.
I mean, exactly. I'm at the end of the day, we all win together or we're going to fail together. It's going to be one or the other, right? So they do have a autonomy there and obviously a voice. But at the end of the day, that business inside our business needs to show the way that we need it to show, right? To give that experience to the customer. So
you got Spawn Salon is one business. What are the other businesses within here that there would be a manager over?
Cafe, kids, club operations.
Okay.
We talk about, Ultimate Hoops, for example, has its own. Personal training has its own. Tennis has its own. So you can kind of see it. It all breaks out. So essentially, if you think about it, we really have about 13 business owners in the spaces. Okay. As far as I have a yoga manager, so they're overseeing the yoga department as if it was their own boutique, standalone. Their own cycle business. Yeah.
Well, I think it's a good point because you guys obviously are succeeding. That's why you're opening up huge, beautiful mega clubs. But I think it's tough for my listeners because at some point you get, person starts out as like one or two people in an office, right? And they're building. And at some point you have to make that switch where you have to relegate responsibility and ownership to somebody else, or you just can't get past a certain point of growth, right?
Correct.
And so for you, it's like, hey, nobody would ever step into this place and go, oh yeah, there's one person in charge of everything. Like, no, you got to have division managers or business owners. But there's a lot of gap between what you run and the people listening to my podcast, right? So I just want them to think like, you just can divide this off. And even in a small office, you essentially could have the person heading the massage. And maybe it's one or two massage therapists or three, but they run that like it's their own, right?
Yeah.
You can have your head trainer being his own operation, and then maybe has one or two part-timers underneath that. And it obviously is a great way to run it because it seems like you guys are doing okay.
Yeah. I think to your point, there's ability to do that. It's, what I've seen is the smaller business owner always wants full control of everything, right?
Yeah.
And that's natural, right? It's their baby. But you're going to get farther along when you let go a little bit and let somebody else help you own that. So yeah, and that's kind of to point, today's a perfect example because I suffer from a little bit of that control factor, right? I want it done perfectly. So today with our operations cleaning and workload that we did, painting fire lanes on the curbs, I refused to delegate that out to specific individuals because I knew 2 or 3 people are very like anal retentive on lines. So taping it and making meticulous, and because the last thing I want to do is now have to go with paint thinner through things and have to re-clean it and cause it, time.
Now that where you're talking about the red curb is directly in front of the front entrance of the building, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking about the one on the side of the house, like
in the front. Yeah. That's got a showcase.
I'm surprised you didn't use some high-end imported Italian paint or something, to really dress it up.
Well, it was actually the first time we've used, it was a very thick paint and it was a mixture and it was blocked up, which was really funny. So when we were taking apart the epoxy paint, then we had to add this, it's like an emulsifier that goes in it. Well, it was blocked up pretty hard. So we're sitting there stirring it and mixing it up. And I'm just saying like, we should have gotten this straight from the store and used it today instead of having it on site because of that change. So again, learning experience. So we literally are ordering another another couple gallons, and we're going to use them that day to do the rest of
when
that
it
parking
arrives,
lot.
it's
So,
you're dressing out of your suit and into the painting clothes, huh?
yeah, getting back out there. So
Nice. Yeah. Well, there's so many ways we can go here. Maybe you could share with some people. We talked earlier a little bit about efficiency and design and whatnot that you've learned along the way of good design, bad design, things that are not efficient and end up costing a lot of money. If you can think back to your days of running smaller operations, do you have any tips for people about maybe it's easy ways to lose money in a gym, which there are hundreds, right?
sure.
Or ways to save themselves some headache and time? What would you say?
I mean, if you think about, boy, you could talk endless about this,
Yeah.
right? I think honestly, trial by fire is big, right? I think you need to actually go through the scenario of what the customer is going to go through.
Okay.
And what I mean by that, I'll give you an example. We were moving to Vegas, and I didn't know where we were going to live, right? So
Okay.
we're checking out all these places, and then I'm thinking, okay, my wife now, she's the customer in this scenario, right? I'm thinking, would she want to drive this drive to work every day? So I know where she's going to drive. So now prime time in the morning, before we put an offer out on this house, I drive over to the house and I clock it, and then I take my experience, and then I see, okay, this really isn't that bad. So she has nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
Living on the East Coast, we're driving 10 miles for an hour and a half. So
Yeah.
so here
From Southern California, I get it.
nothing. Yeah, right. So I think that if you're gonna structure your business in a certain way to flow, you have to go through that flow and really feel good about it, and then bring a few other people in there, because that really can cost you if it's blocky or choppy or it just doesn't feel good. Just think about it. What if you build something and then all of a sudden it doesn't work, and you're like, oh, now I got to change it, and it's $50,000.
Yeah. Which might be, I'll tell you one that happens out here all the time. So we had the side of our gym was a storefront glass, almost floor to ceiling. Started on the floor, went up about 2/3 of the way, and then it became, and when we were looking at the layout, we were trying to figure out where should we put the front desk and where should we do this and that. And the last minute, our designer goes, oh, wait, hold on a second. And she like rolls back the blueprint and goes, oh, that's, we can't do it there. We can't have the desk there because that's the west facing windows. And here, I mean, in August, if the sun's shining through those windows, floor to ceiling, like there is, short of blacking them out, there's no way that anybody is going to work facing the west at 4:00 in the afternoon, right? I mean, it's going to be laser beams in your eyes.
Well, and we've made the mistake with tennis, for example. You put them east to west. Now somebody's always got the sun in their eyes. Like they're not happy playing. Right. To go back to your question there, though, I think the other piece that could cost you a lot is it's people. I mean, at the end of the day, it's
the people we hire, the people we go after,
the people you have on staff. I
Okay.
mean, you might have an emotional tie to somebody that you want working in the space. But
right before I got in here, Alex was actually firing his grandmother. He was just heartless. No, just kidding. It was his wife's grandmother, and she's lazy.
She's no longer here.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, that's awesome. So tough decisions that you have to make.
That's right.
But yeah, I think that's a big piece. You have the right people in place that can harbor the relationships and really build that. At that point, your space doesn't matter as much, right?
Oh,
You could have a not, what I would call not a sexy space by any means, but that doesn't matter. You have a good experience and you're great people.
Well, I mean, to the contrary, like you have world-class facilities here, right? Your cafe your desk is granite. That we know everything's perfect. But if your cafe people are jerks, I won't spend the money in there. Yeah, I'll go to Panera or something. Yeah. It's less than, I could walk there in 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And so you have the world-class facilities, and still you got to have the people with the right attitudes and the right training to do it, right?
Yeah, I mean the training is, I think the training is the hardest part of it.
Okay.
Aside for obviously, you have to cast specifically for a specific person. It could be, for example, I'm constantly shopping out competition, right? So I'm checking out every possible place.
If Alex walks into your joint, I should include a picture of this on the podcast, because if he walks into your place, he's poaching.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's Nordstrom's or you pulled people for your cafe from Panera and Starbucks, right? And you got the salon people from the best salons in Vegas.
Oh, yeah. Hands down.
Yeah, if he comes into your place, just escort him outside. You're going to lose labor.
Hands down.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the cashiers.
But let's go down that path, because I think that's one thing you have the space and the equipment, it's everybody can kind of dial in, but you have seen a lot of people come and a lot of people go,
Sure.
right? And some you forced out, I'm sure that they weren't the right fit, and some they left for whatever reason. But let's go down that, because I would love to hear what you think about hiring, training, and all that. You were just saying that training is the toughest part.
Training is the toughest part with turnover.
Okay.
Meaning, I pour my heart and soul in training 100 people.
Yeah.
Well, if you think of the gym business as a, and what sector does it fit in? A lot of times it's really retail that it's going to tie into in some regard. Well, if you look at it in a retail sector, you have 104% turnover annually.
Right.
So hold on. So I'm going to pour my heart and soul into training somebody, and then I'm going to have a complete different staff a year from now. That's kind of hard to swallow, right? So it's, how do you keep your people? How do you engage them? And how do you train them?
And by the way, you're not losing them to the ether. You're losing them probably to your competitor, right? I mean, like in retail, like I'm going to go from Nordstrom to another high-end retailer and use my training that Nordstrom did for me at Abercrombie or something like that, right?
Sure.
So, that stings even more, right? I don't want the gym down the street to be benefiting from my training of my great trainers,
Yeah, well, it's twofold. I'd say you got to look at the seasonal aspect. Now, I understand on a small scale, you're not going to have a seasonal aspect of losing people from the pool, right? I definitely understand that. But that's a tough pill to swallow if you have, let's say you have 5 employees, you teach them every little bit of what you want. You feel good, the experience is there. You can sleep at night knowing that somebody's regurgitating what you would want somebody to hear or say. But then 6 months from now, they're all gone.
Yeah.
That's not easy to replicate, because you have to put the right behaviors in place. You have to have the emotional intelligence to be able to talk to customers. That's the toughest part, and I've seen that, and for us here on a big scale, right? So I have at peak 430 team members. Like, that's a lot of people to keep in line and then know that they're saying the right thing all the time, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be on it, and you have to operate teach backs, and I think that's vital. Is let's see what they're saying, then let's coach them on what we want them to say, and then, hey, can you teach me back exactly what we just went through right now? And a lot of times they can't, which tells you, had you left that conversation, it would go pretty sour pretty fast with somebody.
Yeah.
So you have to keep doing it until they just feel that good about it. So I find that to be the toughest part, because that's your biggest asset is people.
Are you a chiropractor or physical therapist working long hours, worrying about lower repayments and missing out on quality time with your family? You can double your income without working more hours by adding a gym to your practice. Clinic Gym Hybrid Solutions has a step-by-step guide that dramatically simplifies and speeds up the addition of a fitness center and its monthly recurring revenue. In just 6 months, you can be on your way to freedom. Visit clinicgymhybrid.com today for a free downloadable PDF and complimentary consultation to get you started. That's clinicgymhybrid.com.
What have you learned? Along the way, what solutions can you offer somebody that maybe does have 5 employees, and they're trying to doing everything they can, investing every hour of their life and every dollar they have to get to 10 or 15, and they're not going to take a vacation until they got a few, they got some well-trained staff that can work around the week round, and create it. What would you recommend to that person?
I think here's personally what I've seen, people rush the decisions. So I have to hire X amount of people. I have a date in mind. I got a business plan that I got to hit for myself, right? And then you go out and you let your guard down essentially on who you're really going to want.
Start selling yourself on people, right? Like,
yeah, totally.
He's not perfect, but man, he'll be good.
I'll coach him.
Yeah.
Right. And then like 3 months and you're like, there's no coaching. This is rough. Right. And at the end of the day, that could bleed your business out. Cause whether you're in sales, you're a massage therapist, or you're a chiropractor, if I don't like you, I'm not coming back at the end of the day. Right.
Yeah,
and I
frontline
think
service stuff, right?
Yeah. And that hurts. So I think that's a big piece. That's for sure.
And the training loop. I mean, if you were to advise a small business owner that's having a few personal trainers working for them, would you do monthly training, weekly, quarterly? How often would you do it, and what blips and and prioritize. What would you do first? Customer service skills? Would you do education about exercise? Because I think a lot of people go, oh, this guy's great. He's got all these certifications. He's CSCS and he's got the NFCA and he's got all these things. And my first thought is, okay, like no one's going to ask. Mm-hmm. None of your customers are going to ask. What they're going to figure out is this person nice?
Yeah.
Does he shake hands? Does he look people in the eye? Can he clearly articulate what to do next? Nobody's going to challenge you on, are you AFA certified or whatever, right?
Yeah. Well, I think if I walk in a small space and it's private, I'm probably going to feel actually good that there's ownership there and the person's certified and licensed or whatever the case is under that umbrella. But God, that's a realistically, I think you have to do at least two things. One, you have to train on the education factor, right? Somebody that comes in and just let's use a trainer.
Okay.
They just got certified. Well, there's 100 certifications, right? So
Sure.
so let's say we're going to use let's use NASM, pretty well accredited cert. You really know your muscles, you're tight, you're weak. You can talk the lingo. It's still a cert with a book. They have no practical application to it, right? So now, how do they practically apply it? Can they explain that? And then, let's just be honest. Anybody going in any industry needs to have experience along the way, right? So, so you being the business owner and probably having a plethora of information, you have to trial and error them through what you've experienced coaching somebody. Somebody might recommend that you start with abs, for example, on every exercise set, or self-myofascial release, or who knows, whatever the case is. That might not be the right thing for a person in this scenario with lower back pain or a shoulder impingement. Well, what do you do there? Hey, that's a great educational play for somebody. So I'd use that as an example, take people through. Maybe you do a case study with somebody like that for 4 weeks and take them through their plan. That's a great educational series, and then you have to have something on the business side of things for them to understand too, because some people they've never been exposed to that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize. NASM, for example, is certifying personal trainers. I don't know why they don't have like a whole section on how to sell yourself, because if you're not selling sessions or memberships, it ain't going to last very long, right? Like.
No, and you're helping people. So I just had a perfect conversation about this with a nutrition coach. A dietitian doesn't go to school and learn how to sell themselves.
Right.
They're thinking they're going to be in a clinical setting. A doctor's going to write a script.
I'm at the hospital and getting assigned a case. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And this guy's miserable in front of them and doesn't want to listen to anything they have to say. But he's there and he's going to cut sodium and you know what I mean? And then you get into the different scope. You go into proactive medicine. Yeah. And now you're telling somebody, hey, you want to lose 20 pounds and prevent yourself from getting on a statin. Yeah. Different conversation, right? But how do you sell that person on seeing you once a week?
So do all of your coaches or trainers go through some sales-based training? Because you have a dedicated sales force, right? Like you have salespeople, and then you have your class instructors, and then I know that the personal training is an upgrade, right? Sure. And I can do it per session. Do you help them out with the sales process?
Yeah, I almost hate to call it a sales process per se. We focus on experience, right? Yeah. So there's a process to let's ask you the right questions, right? So you can tell me exactly what you're actually looking for.
So some motivational kind of interviewing.
Yeah, at the end of the day, if you're not interested, we're not even going to go down that route, but let me give you some information that's going to be practical to you. But if you start exhibiting some questions and signs that you want to go down that route, here's the different options that you could choose depending on the goal sets that you have. But it's honestly, it's conversational, just like how you and I are chatting right now, right? To get to the right piece.
It's funny you say that, because working with people that are adding a gym, but they're coming out of the clinic. Just today I was telling somebody, you have a sales process. And what is that sales process? If you come in with shoulder impingement, I'm not going to sell you on a treatment for your ankle. Like, I ask you some questions, find out what's going on, get some emotional. Why is it really bothering you? So I can get some commitment from you. You're like, it's not the pain. It's, I can't pitch Little League with my kid anymore, Yeah. And now I got some emotion. I said, all right, well, if you want to take care of that, I do a discovery session. I have to. I'm legally like, what do they say? A treatment without evaluation is malpractice. Well, it's the same thing in the training space, right? I want to find out what are your goals, because if I'm an expert in weight loss and you're looking to improve your squat by 80 pounds, like that's a mismatch. I'm not going to sell you weight loss exercise, right? And vice versa.
Yeah.
So I do that, and then I say, well, here's solutions for your problem like this. And at that point, people realize like, oh yeah, I've been doing this in the clinic for 8-10 years. I don't have to learn a completely, what would you call it? Like sterile sales process that doesn't feel like two human beings talking.
Sure.
Right. But,
yeah. And that's exactly what it is. I mean, we focus on giving people different options for what they actually ask for. So I want to lose weight, don't want to put more financial investment into anything, but help me out with a plan. Cool. Here's a calendar. Let's map out 3 classes that are going to work out for you.
Right.
Here's what I would give you kind of a baseline of, use a plate. How many vegetables and how much meat should you have on the plate, right? Just, basic in theory, but it gives you a start. And that's where, if you really start following through with this, you're going to evolve, kind of back to our toilet paper analogy. You're going to want to naturally evolve anyways, because you're going to want to get better, right?
Right.
Maybe 3-4 months down the road, you're going to come back and say, hey, that trainer was awesome, super good guy, got me to this point. Now I'm going to hire him on to get me to the next basis, right? So you can't shut it off. And in a sales process, and same thing with our membership sales. If you don't follow up and you actually weren't a genuine person, you're never going to see that person again. And that's the big thing that you really have to pay attention to. And especially in a private clinic, 1 or 2 people could be the biggest factor or the worst factor for you for the whole year potentially. Yep. So that's a big thing to pay attention to for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always funny when people think it's got to be so different, but people are coming to you for a solution. That's what whether it's in your clinic or your gym, like that's what they're looking for, right?
Yeah.
And so just talk to them and make sure they know the different options they can get, because if you don't offer a complete solution, which somebody's 50 pounds overweight and they got their daughter's wedding coming up in 8 months, see, exercise alone ain't going to do it. Like you're going to have to give them a complete solution that includes nutrition, coaching, sit down, accountability times, measurement systems, and even all the way up to supplementation. Like it's going to take all those things, but if that's what their goal is, don't just be like, well, I'll teach you how to work out, twice a week. It's like, come on, that's not going to work.
I call it the commitment scale. So essentially, I'll present it as, you're going to have your commitment of how badly do you want to actually get to this goal, score of 1 to 10, right? So, psychologically, how well are you actually tied into this? Like, are you actually ready to do this? What's your support system at home? Right? Like, is your buddy at home that you live with going to take you out to Buffalo Wild Wings every night? Probably not a good...
It's funny. 3 different people have used Buffalo Wild Wings as the example for not the worst nutrition ever, but go on.
Well, I'm thinking like fried chicken wings and beers.
If they could fry the forks, they would do it, just batter those suckers, throw them in the fryer. And we have these straws made out of, corn syrup that disintegrate as you drink. It's unbelievable.
Sounds so delicious, but filthy. But yeah, in that reality, when you put it that way, if somebody's giving you an 8 on commitment, hey, I'm psychologically ready to commit to this. Financially, yeah, I have ability to do that.
Sure.
I'm not a professional basketball player, but I'm ready to do that. You really can put a really good plan together for somebody, and it's their choice at the end of the day, right? But you're actually going to give them the right stuff, and that matters.
3 months later, if they graded you on, hey, did these people give you what you wanted? Did you get the results? They're going to give you an 8, 9, or 10, right? Instead of, if you don't get that high level, then the customer later on doesn't think, oh, this was good. Like they're like, oh, that was freaking awesome. Those guys gave me, I didn't even know about this foam roller thing. I didn't even know about this, how to measure out my meals and all this stuff. This is awesome. Those guys are incredible. I'm so glad I went with them.
Yeah. So big point there. And I'm just thinking this on it. If I had my own box or a small little, 5,000-10,000 square foot space,
hold on real quick. Alex, I hate to break to you. 10 grand's not that small to a lot of people, all right? Okay. I know to you, you're like, oh, that's we wouldn't even add that on. That's not worth construction. To some of us, that's a huge gym, but go on.
It could be, right? So yeah, it's funny you say that. but I'm just thinking, so 10,000 square feet could be a huge space, right? In some regard. how do you utilize that? And how do you get people in it? A lot of it is it's freebies, right? You need to bring value to people to really trust you,
right?
You know, so running workshops, foam roller aspects are big. You know, it's really just educational tools that you can bring to people to get them to really see, hey, yes, this worked. Help me out. I want more. Right. So it's how do you build that curriculum? How do you get that?
Yeah.
Out
well,
there?
you guys do that. I mean, you're a huge gym with plenty of salespeople, great trainers, and high end. And I still see you doing that. Like I remember, was it the 60-day challenge at the beginning of the year, where people it wasn't necessarily an upgrade in membership. It was just like the little flyers you handed out with hit this class on Monday and this one on Wednesday and this one on Friday. Check in, do your weigh-ins, blah blah blah. You're still building that cycle, right? And it's not like you don't have the numbers to do that, but you're still giving out that's not freebie, but it's like a free workshop kind of integration of service. Yeah.
I mean, and that's evolved over time too. What we realize is sometimes 3 months might be too long for kind of keeping people engaged, but 60 days or 30 days is a much better time period. So, so give you an example. That's $60 for the getting involved.
Okay.
There's prizes, obviously, so there's motivation to it. But you literally get contact point once a day for 60 days.
Wow.
And then on top of it, you have 2 or 3 like actual educational or exercise components for an hour, 3 times a week. Like $60 is literally giving you a lot. And if you actually use that information, it's a killer program. And then you use all of the classes and really what you have value in. Yeah. It's a no-brainer if you really think about it.
But that's great because, I mean, if somebody, even in a small gym, I'm just thinking this out, like if I can do something where I can send a message maybe every morning, a text message or an email to all of my 60-day people, leverage that, say, hey, you're going to get a little message every morning, and then you're going to come in at this time, and we have a weekly weigh-in on Fridays at from 4 to 5 p.m., and along the way, you're going to get these different workshops. That scales all the way from your size all the way down to if I got 5 people going on at my gym, right? I can do that very easily. And I'm not talking about adding a whole new, I got to buy these reformers or I got to buy new equipment or anything. No, this is just information and value for the client, right?
100%.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to get sexy on it in a regard. You don't have to have more stuff. It's the value of what you can bring, you know, personally to that, to build it. You know, I think back to, if you scale back to the original thought that we started with on, you know, where could you lose out? I think people want the nicest thing immediately, or they want more stuff versus the plans and getting people involved and getting that result aspect to it. I think that's a big change mentally for some people. And some people do it right. Some people do it, they start off wrong right off the bat and they're in the hole right off the bat, you know, and
I've seen plenty of CrossFit boxes when it was blown up. You walk in and, I mean, just knowing what I know about equipment, I'm looking around going, there's $120,000 worth of stuff in a 10,000 square foot space. And unless you are just catching people like crazy sales wise, you're never, I don't care if it's leased out for 5 years, you're never gonna be able to pay that off and catch up with your rent and your staff that it would take to serve all these people. I'm going, what the hell are you doing? And then, you know, there's a great CrossFit owner in town who I worked with a lot, and he would start off, you'd go into a space and you're like, this is pretty sparse, but you know what? People are getting great workouts. They did great instruction. They did great classes. They did all that. And he used the money he developed to buy more equipment. And you can always, this is how you can tell if you have a smart gym owner, by the way. If you can visually see that there's equipment that was purchased multiple years ago, a little bit newer, and then some new stuff, but not a ton of new stuff, they're probably smart because they just bought with the cash flow, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it should go. I mean, you have the nicety of, you guys are at some point will, you know, just do a big purchase. But I'm sure even if I come here 10 years from now, there'll be different stuff at different stages, right? Like, and you're, you know, you have to do that. So I always write to my clients, like, don't spend a lot early on. It's the education and the coaching. It's not the equipment itself, you know?
Well, yeah. So to your point, I think if I go into a box and it's all brand new stuff right off the bat, the person either had a lot of cash right off the bat to put into it, or they're really in the hole because they didn't realize what the cost was for certain things. Like an Olympic lifting bar, you get quality ones. Yeah, they're $1,400-$1,500 for a bar.
Right.
You know, okay, well now I got 20 of them. That's a pretty egregious cost right off the bat, you know. So
and by the way, no client on the face of the earth is walking in and going, are those Eleiko bars? What are those? You know, like they don't care. I mean, maybe some snob, but come on, they don't care. Like
no, at the end of the day,
training.
Correct.
Yeah. So go to Westside Barbell, for God's sakes. They're putting out world-class powerlifters in the place to dump. Like, I mean, I shouldn't say it's a dump, but it's nothing technological. So
no, and you can get stuff on a really good price point and then evolve from it. To your point, you know, hey, let's start off with entry level. And, you know, 2 years from now, we get the cash flow going and I want to give my customer an even better experience with something.
Right.
Plus, you got to excite your customer too, right? Like, hey, we got some more cool stuff coming because you're a great client of ours, right? Thank you for what you've helped us do. They're going to stay with you too because they feel like what they've brought to the table, they're getting results, but they're now part of that mix.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to say about that.
I don't think you guys would do this, but we certainly did this where involve them. Hey, we're getting a shipment in Saturday. We're going to have unboxing and you know, organizing or rebuilding the gym or whatever, and get them to help you do that. And then when they show up the next day, they feel like they're part of it. You're like, hey, I remember taking that thing out of the wrapper. Or I remember the stupid what's that plastic wrapping they put around all the cardboard boxes of weights because they're so heavy. Yeah. I moved those mats. We had a guy that helped us install our pull-up rack, and he'd always come through. Every couple weeks, he'd go, I can't believe we put that, you know, stupid bolt in wrong, you know, because we measured this thing out 3 times, and he's an engineer, civil engineer by trade, and we still missed our mark, you know. But that was his little connection to it. It was awesome, you know.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah. Not to transition out of that, but I think you're just so full of great information. I want to ask something that's definitely going to be close to a lot of the folks I'm listening to. You said earlier you do have an on-site clinic, right? And I know that a lot of other Lifetimes are either adding it or are all the new ones built with one space with it?
No, not every single one. I'd say 50% of the newer buildings that we've put together have had a clinic.
Is that a trend you see growing? And I guess I want to go 2 ways. What other trends are you seeing growing that, you know, maybe our listeners can kind of be on top of? And secondly, since they are healthcare professionals, any suggestions for how you've seen that clinic side work? Is it the proactive care? Should you treat pain? Is there a lot of money in that? Is it really important to get your demographics down? What have you guys learned along the way?
I think chiropractic and physical therapy are really relative to the space.
Okay.
I think proactive
That's
care.
code for open a freaking gym on your clinic. Sorry.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's spot on.
I think it's a perfect marriage because when somebody gets done with treatment, like, what do they want next? Probably not to get injured again. And the best way to do that is the right exercise. And the way to do that is like, make it super easy for them, you know?
Well, it's funny because if you think about it, right, you come from the medical side of it.
Yeah.
I come from the business side of the gym space.
Right.
But yet we're transitioning to the same topic that we're talking about, right?
Right.
So I'm going after, how do I get into the clinical side? You're going, how do I get into the fitness side?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's the same freaking thing, right?
Right.
Because we see the same opportunity of that marriage.
There's no true wall there, like between the two, right? They're a continuum.
Sure. I mean, just think about it. So I go work out. I did a CrossFit workout, or here we have Alpha, right? It's very similar. I'm sore, or hey, you know, something just doesn't feel right. I'm going to see my chiropractor. Right. It's the same thing, whether I'm coming to see you or I'm coming to see mine at my space, right? So we've seen that be a really, really good marriage. Now we do, dry needling has been huge. Taping has been really, really big. I think proactive care in itself, I think there is a good market for it. I think just some people are not used to it. And it's kind of hard to break through the whole, do you take insurance? No. Okay. Yeah. I don't want to fork over $3-4 grand out of pocket. That part is kind of hard for some people.
Right.
And you're really looking at a distinctive person in the market. So I think that's a little bit more challenging, to be honest. But honestly, the biggest trend I've been seeing now has been, compression therapy, drip therapy, cryo, stuff like that has been.
So kind of that recovery aspect of medicine. So even if I had a small 5,000 square foot gym, maybe having a room, what is this, is this 12 by 12, something like that in this room that we're in? Let's say it's that. You think if I had some recovery aspects, the Normatec boots or compression therapy, had a cryo chamber, standing cryo chamber, all these different things, you're gonna start seeing more and more of that. That's and probably worth, because a lot of those things, I mean, the cryo chamber can get heavy, but Normatec boots are $1,000 or $1,500 a pair. I think I can make that back.
Sure.
What about the Theragun? I see that upstairs with your people.
Yeah.
Loosening up the muscles.
Active release therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those things are well worth integrating.
I think so. I mean, we've seen some muscle activation.
Yeah.
It's been a big one.
Cool.
Active release therapy has been big. Sports massage obviously is big, and it's interesting, right? Like, how granular do you get into the weeds on stuff like that? But at the end of the day, I think I realized this a few years ago, and you saw it in the transition with sportswear, right? So you saw Under Armour go from, hey, I got heat gear and cold gear, to now I got sleep gear.
Yeah.
Right. And you saw the recovery and the compression and what is that like? And all of a sudden it was like it was a click, because they were going after a certain market.
Right.
And they're trying to dive into, hey, well, you got to wear this when you sleep because you're going to recover 25% better. Right. And people are buying it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get other people jumping on the bandwagon. It's the same thing in our business, right? Like, if you're actually competitive or you really want to get better, you are going to pay up for that, for one. And two, you're going to seek out other alternate options to what's going to get you into the club or doing other things more to get that edge. And that's what it is, right? So when you think in a smaller clinic setting, well, what's my dollar generation per square foot that I can do that? Well, if you have that, you just brought up 3 different things in a 12 by 12 room that you just are generating more revenue out of. That it's private. I feel good about it. I trust you. And you're helping me significantly more than what I could get somewhere else. And you win. And another aspect of it, you're helping me consume your product more. Because if I can recover a little bit faster, you know what? I can come 4 days a week, not 3. Yep. And then I'm going to love your workouts even more. And then I'm going to use recovery a little bit more. And it's like a self-consuming thing, you know? It is. It's great. It's fantastic. So do you think the trend will we see more of those kind of integrations on like your size gym adding that clinic if they don't already have it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for sure. We're definitely going down that route. A corporate guy looking at the corporate numbers going, yeah, you'll definitely see that. Yeah. That's coming. So okay. But you guys still, so you did the proactive care, you're kind of breaking down the barriers there of hey, you got to pay up front, it's cash. But you guys have the services, let's say traditional services of the bill insurance for them. I mean, like the chiropractic adjustment and I get rehab and all that. And even that has good usage? That has significantly higher usage for sure. Okay. So yeah, no, we see that quite often. And to give you kind of scope to that, I mean, we're to the point where, you're out 2-3 weeks for an appointment, with a physical therapist and a chiro. At that point, I'm saying, well, now I got to double up that business, right? Because I got the rooms. Yeah. Right. I might as well create that space because there's a demand for it. So, man, those salespeople are going to be pissed when you kick them out of their rooms and make a clinic, man. No. Well, that's a space that's it's changed, it's evolved. There's how many square feet is your clinic, like wall to wall? Just out of curiosity. Honestly, I don't know that number off the top of my head. I've never been in there, but it's if I was to guess, it's probably about 1,400 to 1,500 square feet. Okay. So it's not huge. It's a decent sized clinic, though. I mean, like we see a lot of chiro clinics between 1,000 and 1,500. So yeah. It's kind of standard. Relative to that. Yeah. You think rooms wise, you got 8 rooms. Okay. You can really kind of utilize that space wisely. Today, if you could start all over, how big would you make it? I don't know that I would make it necessarily that much bigger. I think I would have just designed it a little bit different. Like we have a conference room in there with tables and TVs. I don't think that's really a use of space, to be honest. Okay. So that would be something I'd be pulling out and putting something else in. But that's simple, right? There's nothing bolted down or really. I mean, at the end of the day, you just change that room up and it could be a lot better. So, but you go with more treatment rooms to do more services at that time? Yeah. Oh yeah. Hands down. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, if I change anything, it might be something really ridiculous. The front desk maybe be more more inviting because it's offset. It's not centered to the doors, for example. I think
that's the only thing is like it's almost like from the perspective walking by, it's like it's tucked back there.
Yeah,
I'm surprised it's 1,500 square feet. I thought it was maybe a couple rooms, but you got 8 rooms and a conference room. That's a decent sized space back there.
Yeah, it's to my saying it's quiet, right? It's you don't know what's going on in there, but I don't know that that's good or bad, to be honest. I think you like the privacy of it, but then you also have no clue what's going on in there. So unless you're inviting people in that space, you're clueless.
Yeah,
and that's a problem in our business. That's a problem because you're high traffic. You want people to experience stuff,
right? You want the exposure, right? Like, hey, this is what's going on in there. Let's do some stuff up front.
Just like if you're in a, normal shop on a strip aspect, you want to get people through the door. It's the same thing. What's going to get them in there, right?
Yeah.
So it's either loud colors, people howling, or really, really good referrals. Yeah.
Right.
Hopefully it's the referrals that are bringing people in. Yeah. So
it's like when you go to the Forum Shops, which is maybe the most expensive mall in America, there's no question when you walk by what's going on in each one of those shops, right? If we sell jewelry, it's jewelry, you know? So that's fantastic. Yeah. Any other aspects you see, trends or anything coming up in the future?
So I think we got into this early on, but I think blood work for a client is vital. We got into it years ago where we were saying, hey, I could beat you up for hours, but you could be so inflamed and your cortisol so jacked that I'm not going to help you one bit.
I'm peeing in the ocean right now.
Totally. You're not going to lose weight. If anything, you're going to gain it. You're going to be frustrated. So we went down that route before we even talked about clinics, where we were able to recommend blood work and go into that route and see what's going on with somebody, and then say, hey, to the training part, our trainers understand that blood panel and can speak to it. And how does that break down into, hey, maybe you got a thyroid problem that's going to, you need to be directed to a doc.
Yeah,
which is for us where we would truly evolved into the clinic space, but in normal spaces, hey, there's nothing wrong with you're an at-home trainer. You understand lab work.
Yeah,
and you're like, dude, your T4 is messed up or your T3 is messed up. You need to go see somebody about this.
Yeah,
and refer it out to somebody that that's a relationship build, but you're gonna get that person a result.
Yeah,
and you did it in a little bit of a different fashion than, hey, I'm a $50 an hour trainer beating you up. At the park.
And you guys would do that just for scale. Long before there were on-site clinics, you guys were just having the people go get their blood drawn and then discussing it on site?
So we could essentially sell the blood work. And then people were
And you were having blood draws at the club?
Depending.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering. So people don't get stuck in the logistics because you can send I know I've sent people to Quest before to get a blood draw.
Yeah, and we used to do that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
But then you would have your trainers discuss the results and how it would affect their performance in the gym.
Correct.
Yeah, because what you hope there is somebody goes, well, he discussed my blood work, but man, he's really expensive. And then go to another trainer who never mentions blood work and they go, oh, you know what, I'm going back to that guy. Like, he was obviously way different. He's on a different level, Right. Yeah. Okay.
It's the intellectual part of training that, you don't want to bore people to death or talk to them in a doctor scenario, right? Like I've had trainers they have doctorates and they just can't connect with anybody on any kind of aspect and talk to them, and they just bore people.
Yeah.
I remember distinctly this one guy, he started talking to this lady about his friend had skin cancer, and he goes into like all the epithelial layers and all this other stuff, and the lady's looking at him like, what are you talking about, And this was coaching opportunity for him. I grabbed him and I take him behind the desk and I was like, you need to talk to people like a normal person. They have no clue what you're saying, and that was his disconnect. Like, he was thinking, oh, if I speak in this high level gibberish to people, they're going to think I'm smart. And I'm like, no, they're going to think you're smart because you know how to analyze stuff, but actually talking to them, and partnering with them is different than.
I think I might have almost hired that guy that you're bringing up, because I took we had this trainer interview and we took him to lunch, and I knew everything he was talking about, and I was bored out of my skull. And I was like, I'm not letting this dude near anybody in my, unless we have a sleep clinic. And then I would let him talk to him, over the phone as they're if they have insomnia, put this guy on the phone for a while. I guarantee to go to sleep.
Oh, that's amazing.
But God, it was so bad. And you're just like, dude, it's not doing what you think it's doing.
No.
Anyways. Yeah. So you think, blood work you guys got into, you got lucky with that one, and it's continued to be great. The on-site clinic and any other trends, maybe outside of the medical side of things that I think people should pay attention to. So we said recovery too. You think the recovery is, anybody's going to add that? Yeah, add that. Okay.
Right now, I think people want to work out or train for an event.
Okay.
You have to have some kind of a goal in mind. I think more and more we see that Spartan races.
The Spartan race, you guys run promos for that.
Yeah, and we partnered with Spartan, but you use whatever. I mean, there's so many of them out there now. Whatever the case is, I think people having a goal, maybe not on body fat or weight loss or whatever. It's, hey, you want to finish this event and be awesome. Cool. Then let's get a group together and drive towards this.
And that could be as easy as getting your gym, everybody excited about a half marathon or something coming up, right? Oh, I've never done that. I want to. Yeah.
I got team members that are doing it. I got a group of 10. One person, made the rally cry of, I'm going to go do this half marathon. And literally, I mean, she was like a spokesperson for it. She got another 9 people ready. She got their plans going. Now they all work out upstairs together. It's the same thing if she was running her own business to get 9 other people to kind of have that same cause and drive for it.
Yeah.
But I've never even seen these people running. Now they're running 10 miles on the treadmill. You know what I mean? And it's kind of cool.
That's always the funny thing is it's never the ones you think. The person that's already a great runner, like, oh yeah, this and that. It's the person that you're like, man, you're built like a brick. You're built like a fire hydrant.
Oh yeah.
I don't see you out there running. They're like, oh, I'm committed, and sure as hell they are. You know?
and they rock it. So
yeah.
So that's been a transition. I think the other one is, CrossFit or that similar style of exercise.
Competitive working out, like each workout is a competition almost.
Competition. What I've realized is people want to be engaged, right? People want to have fun. People want to be entertained when they're doing things. That does that for them. They have the same teammates that they see every day at 6.
Good way of phrasing that. Yeah.
Right. They're high-fiving. Kudos to everybody. They're working through, whatever hurdles they have.
Yeah.
I've seen that be big, and I've seen that everywhere, across town, across country, different markets. I don't think that's necessarily going away. And
do you think you nailed? I'm going to describe it after, but do you think you nailed your floor plan in that aspect, like where you put alpha?
Absolutely not.
Really?
Yeah, okay. I mean, well, that's why we're transitioning it. So you'll see in the next month here where it's going to change.
Okay.
We went through a more open floor plan. So to your point, right, you said, oh, if I open up this space and I didn't have a lot of equipment, that's not necessarily really a bad thing because you have space to do other stuff.
Yeah.
If you just fill it up with equipment.
I love open space.
You go back to the archaic side of weightlifting, and I hear it all the time. Oh my God, you have so many machines. And I'm like, we really have like a quarter of the machines of some other places because we tried to open it up.
Yeah.
But we want to open it up even more now because we're seeing more people want to exercise in groups and they want to be a part of something.
Okay.
And it's more of that coach that's there to.
Well, the point I was going to try and make is, so if you go up, try and give people a verbal picture of this. If I walk up the stairs, I'm onto the main training floor. Dead center is a big desk for the PTs. And then just beyond that, I've got cardio land to my left, right? Every kind of cardio machine. All the way to the right's the free weights, and then on the right side to the back is the weight machines. What I mean by that is machines that you load plates onto.
Correct.
And then and then in this big pod in the middle is what Alex is calling alpha, which is the CrossFit type classes, or these higher level intensity exercising. Now the interesting thing is that's not in a room. That's not in a group fitness room. It's like open and there's half walls, kind of 4-foot walls around it, right? In various spaces.
Yeah, to transition spaces.
But I love it because when you see the cardio land people that are just kind of like low and slow going, when alpha is going on, the whole mood of the whole damn floor changes, I mean, it's exciting. You can't not be excited and not pick it up a little bit when those guys are going off, right? It's loud, they're playing offensive music and everything, but like... but it's great. And I love that aspect of integrating a gym with a clinic because it's like you're treating people at 3:30 in the afternoon on a Thursday. It's like, dude, I've been doing this all week. I'm tired. You get some people throwing some weights around, high-fiving, cheering each other on. Boom. All of a sudden, you hit that second wind,
Yeah. So I wish everybody thought like you, though, on the enjoyment factor.
It's the old people,
there.
right?
It's a variety of, older, I'd say, or they're looking for a different they're looking for a different experience, or they were here prior to that experience happening, right? So some people just don't deal with change very well. Like that's inevitable.
In all aspects,
but I agree with it, right? I think there's just a different energy, and if I go and take a CrossFit class somewhere to that point, there's music, people having a good time, people smiling, but they're having a hard time as well. But it's so engaging, and that energy is just, you want to come back. Yeah. And I think that's the big part. And to us, hey, we got 1,000 people upstairs. There's music playing. 750 of them want that, and 250 don't. And that's the challenge of it. But at the end of the day, that's where the business is going. And we see that. And that's why, to your point, we have cardio land on the left. Half of the cardio land will disappear. It's going to become a bigger open space for more classes. So we see that trend being big. That's why we'll invest in that space to do that again. Or
de-invest. You're going to depreciate a whole bunch of assets there with the cardio land going away, right?
The way that I looked at that, there's probably so let's say 20 machines there that we might have invested in. We just don't see usage on them. So call it what it is. If we have to lose a little bit there to gain a little bit, then that's the right move, right? Like you have to make that business decision for the long run, and and that's
come on down to Crazy Alex's crazy treadmill sale in a couple months. He stacks them deep and sells them cheap.
Hilarious.
No,
we get that question a lot.
Yeah.
Do you guys
but what's funny is you're going from I would just imagine in that same open space. And we're going long here, man, but I appreciate your time. And if we're looking at the space, I'm thinking, if I have it full of cardio equipment, I don't know what the dollar amount is, but let's say it's, I don't know, 10 grand per unit or 8 grand. You can probably tell me better. And there's 20 units there. Let's just say it's 10 grand times 20 units. That's a boatload of cash right there, right? I got about $200,000 worth of equipment. And what you're saying is we're going to open it up. And in that same space, you're going to have maybe, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the alpha training area, 40 grand worth of equipment, if that. I mean, so you're going with 20% of the equipment cost for a much better effect in the gym, which everybody here, I hope Alex has the company backing him financially. You don't. So don't make that mistake on the front end.
Right.
Yeah. But you're not talking a lot of equipment, right?
No.
Yeah. It's like, it's nothing, man.
No, you're talking about people.
Yeah.
Right. That's where it goes back to the first thing that we talked about. It's if you have the right coach and you use some dumbbells and a really good plan, that's way more effective on an experience level than 20 treadmills worth 160 grand. So
we'll see a second kind of alpha area up there, or whatever you call that. What is that?
I'm just calling it an open training space. It's an open training space. Yeah. Cool. So
and if you have a great trainer and a few dumbbells in your space and things are going well, and Alex walks in, remember, kick him out because he is a talent poacher. No,
that's reality. You got to be able to see the good scope there. And the thing is, that can be anybody in any space, right? It's the great server at a restaurant.
You were telling me you hired somebody out of a local. I can't remember where it was. Was it Panera or something? You went out. The person gave you great service, and you're just like, "Hey, what do you do?" Like, let me offer you, right?
Yeah.
And we have
two great supervisors from Panera, and you could tell. Boy, they were doing things well, but a lot of times, fake it till you make it. Like, are you really happy? And you just start, hey, how do you like your job?
Demographic, like I'm sure in that cafe, they're not dealing with the same jerks that they're dealing with at Panera, because everybody here is, like if you're going to a gym regularly and eating the healthy food, like you have a different outlook on life. I'll just say that, as nice as I can say it, like. The quality of people and their attitudes is a whole lot better.
Yeah, and you get a chance to build the relationships. Let's call it what it is. In a Panera, you're just going to have different people every day. You're going to have some regulars, but you're not going to have the same people. Here, obviously, you have a membership base. In your own space, you're going to have your own clientele. You see them every day. It's much easier to, for my team. Great experience, really friendly. Hey, I know they can memorize orders for people. I know you walking in there, if you walk in 3-4 times a week, they're going to know what you order every single time. They're going to know your name. Yep. It's as big as of a place it is or as small, that means a lot to a customer, because now you're part of something, and that's a good feeling. So
I can't remember her name, but we have an inside joke going on And every time I come in, she's, oh, you want the usual? It's like, oh, yeah. Like, it's like it's my version of Cheers.
Do you question changing your order ever?
Sometimes, Yeah, but, but hey, man, you're moving product like you shouldn't, it's like
it's
everybody's
awesome.
happy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's great. So, hey, listen, I appreciate all the time you've taken with me. I just want to, because we talked about this before, I forgot to bring this up. Just to give everybody an idea, what do you spend on supplies in a year in this place?
About $750K probably, depending on the year. $750 to $800K.
All right, and out of that, what do you spend just so high service gym? I can have as many towels as I want at the shower. I got the washcloths and everything, but you got to replace them, right?
Sure.
If they're trashed or ripped or makeup smeared on them or somebody mistakenly used it for cleaning and now it's got a black stripe going through it. What do you spend a year on towels?
$200K. Yeah.
So for those of you out there with 5,000 square feet and no towels, this is time for a little gratitude journal. You don't have Alex's problem. Yeah, you don't have his problems. You don't have his space. You don't have his membership, but you don't have his crazy problems either. So,
yeah, I love it.
And you just found out. I noticed the outside pool's drained. You just found out you're doing some investment out there, huh?
Yeah. So pools are.
Don't add water. That would be my number one thing. If you have a small gym, don't add stupid showers.
Yeah.
Have as few bathrooms and stalls and sinks as you can. Water is the enemy, man.
It's a lot of liability. That's all I would say to it.
And it's maintenance, it's repair, it's everything.
It's kind of like we bought our house, backyard's a dirt pile, right?
Yep.
I got to do the landscaping, and everybody's like, "You gonna put a pool?" I'm like, "Absolutely not." And they're like, "Why not?" And I was like, do you know what that requirement is? Like, yeah, you got chemicals, but then you got, okay, what if my kid falls in there? My dog falls in there, liability, right? And I'm thinking that just on my own scope. Slips, falls, maintenance, chemicals, pool motors.
Yeah, what if your pool guy is really good looking, your wife starts looking at him sideways, like, you can't take that risk.
That's a big risk.
Yeah.
I love it. No, so to answer what you just brought up, leaks, builds fall apart, ground shifts. What we saw is, and it's kind of funny, I saw this at multiple different locations, but pool lights, there's a conduit line that goes through the pool lights, has an encasing around it, right? Water should not be penetrating through that space, but if you lose some silicone or whatever the case is, that water starts going through there, and we started seeing water just disappearing, and I started noticing like something's not right, because the carbon dioxide levels are flowing double what they typically are, right? And I'm seeing the bill going, something's not right.
So you saw the impact financially, the chemicals going, this is way too...
The usage was just throwing it off, right? And when you see it on a large scale, like that body of water's 272,000 gallons, right?
Yeah,
so
it's huge.
In an 8-hour period, I lost like 20,000 gallons of water. So I'm like, okay, well, there's a problem, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, okay, it's got to be a light. So, now you got to do testing, pull the water over that light. And before you know it, we were using blue dye, but you put the blue dye in and you just kind of can see the water getting sucked into a certain space. So we know what light it is now. Well, as soon as the water started going through there and it started sucking air in, boom, all of a sudden the ground falls through and you see it's a sinkhole, basically.
Awesome.
So it could have been going on for years. We're catching it and it's a good thing, but we haven't had a leak to that point. So it just started, but yeah, now excavation, redoing a bunch of stuff. You want to talk financials? Yeah, that's a burden. So I wouldn't recommend anybody go that route.
Let's just go next door to the casino, put some money on black. It's going to turn out better than the stupid pool idea you have. All right.
It's honestly, it's a risk and it's going to cost you long run. You're probably better off doing that.
Yeah, but at least you're doing it now, getting ready for the summer. We're recording right now before spring break. Unfortunately, you're not going to have the pool for spring break, but
actually the pool will be open.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm filling it up right now. We sealed the leak.
That was fast.
Yeah, we moved fast. I was dreading not having the pool open, just for people obviously wanting to be outside. It's really nice weather right now, but yeah, it was a quick fix. It's just now we just have to work on the side of it. I don't want anything to cause the pool to get worse, right? Yeah. So yeah, we can fix that quite easily with some dirt and redoing the pavers and fixing that sinkhole. But I thought it could be a lot worse, right? Like, oh my gosh, what if a pool wall falls over because the sinkhole
Sure.
is so big. So
Yeah. Or the deck loses height. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
get a trip and fall hazard and all the good things that you'll have to deal with, right?
yeah. So that's
Awesome.
that's the reality of the business.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I don't want to take any more time. This has been a plethora of information. I really appreciate it. I usually say if people want to get a hold of you, but can people send you an email
Yeah.
if they got questions?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, you mind giving out your email address?
Yeah, it's a Gruin, so it's AGRUIN at L as in love, T as in Tom, .life, LIFE.
All right. So it's lt.life.
Yep. So there's no .coms to it. It's lt.life.
All right. Fantastic.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This
Hey,
has
man.
been great.
Well, thank you very much. And on behalf of Alex Gruin and the massive facility that's full of massive repair bills and $200,000 worth of towels in 1 year, this is Dr. Josh Satterley saying, go out there, maximize your license, and live the life you dream of. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Clinic Gym Radio. If you're ready to double your profit without working longer hours, please visit clinicgymhybrid.com and find out how easy it is to get started on your path to freedom. That's clinicgymhybrid.com.